Today we're going to talk about attachment, especially in adoption. Why your child might go to any stranger. Look, one of the most painful things that an adoptive parent can experience is watching your child run into somebody else's arms or act like they don't even care who takes them home. I have worked with parents who have kids that will walk down the street and get a ride from anybody. They will tell anybody their story of how nobody cares about them, nobody is doing anything for them. It's a continual ongoing thing that has to do with their attachment. You may be wondering, like, don't they know that how much we've given up to have this child? Like, don't they know how much we care? But this isn't rejection. This is a sign of a wound that we can actually heal, and it's going to take some time. And hopefully you are listening to this and have the time to give this, because it is a big piece of what you are doing in building attachment and secure attachment for your child and in building your family. So it isn't instant. It's built through repeated safety and care. And I also know that attachment can go both ways. After a while, you might not feel as attached to your child either, because that constant pushing away, that constant button pushing, constantly feeling like you're not doing enough, you can't give enough, that this child is like this black hole of needs. It wears on you. And you may feel like, I don't know if I even love this child. I don't want to be around them right now. There's a lot of pain and a lot of, it's just very difficult. If you've ever been around other people besides your child, friends, or maybe a spouse that have insecure attachment, it can be very, very draining, because you may feel like your job is to just keep reassuring them. I remember with my son, he asked several times before we completed the adoption. He kept wanting to know, like, why are you adopting me? Like, and even now as a young adult, just a lot of struggle in this area with attachment and who really is his family. And we just keep working on it, because it doesn't happen in an instant. It's built through repeated safety and care. And I think that it can be really helpful to know that creating safety and care is an expression, it's love in action. And these kids that come from hard places, even if it's a primal wound that they don't even remember, if you've had them young enough that you're not sure what's going on, and I see this even in kids that are adopted by family members, there's a wound there, and it's very difficult for them to understand love, like what love is. Like, they will be very dramatic about things that they love. They get very attached to things, even over people. And so you are showing them that care and love go hand in hand. And so you don't want to get into a power struggle or an argument with them about how much you care about them and how much you love them, but you're going to show that in your actions, and having that structure and having that care set up. That also helps you. It doesn't have to be about warm and fuzzy feelings. And so you don't have to keep being hard on yourself and not loving yourself because you're struggling with this child and they're pushing you away constantly. Or, I mean, I've had kids that won't say hello to their mom, but will say hello to a complete stranger, or want to give them a hug, or even when I've worked in the homes, like they want to build that attachment with anybody outside of the family. It's just less scary for them. It's not a real attachment. It's just, their brain kind of not knowing. It's a sign that they have a wound that needs to be healed. Understanding that there's trauma and loss, even if it happened very, very young, even if they didn't have the words to didn't have words at that time, even if they didn't know. And even if everyone wanted this adoption, it's very confusing for a child to know that they're in a much better place, in a much better situation with a family than in their biological family. They can have that head knowledge, but there's this tearing away that was never meant to happen. And yet, for safety reasons, because a lot of different factors, there has been this loss, and it shapes their ability to trust. And it's a core issue, and attachment is a core issue. And I think that I find that helpful as an adoptive parent, and I find it helpful as an adoptee to understand that about myself, about my child, and that there's this loss there, that it's not my fault, but I am doing a job that is very difficult and very challenging because of this wound of attachment. Also, just keep in mind that indiscriminate friendliness is part of their survival response. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You have to be very careful that they know boundaries, because they don't often know boundaries. It's easier for them to ask somebody else for something that they think that they need than to ask you, because of that wound. And so I think it's so helpful to not be taken off guard by it, and also not be frustrated by it. I think when there were behaviors with my son that would frustrate me, to live in that frustration, right, of like, oh, he just keeps doing this. And even when you know why, to just be able to, to still be like, I know why, but it's still driving me crazy. So I think to know what you can do about it, and to also know that it's part of what's going on inside of them, and that sometimes as wounds are getting healed, they come up more often. So I see this a lot where kids are in a family, maybe it's foster care, and then as soon as the adoption starts to get close, a lot of behaviors start to come up, and a lot of pushing away, and you're scared, like, wow, like, what are we doing here? Like, are we going to be able to do this? Does he even want us to adopt him? Or is she ever going to settle in? And these are all survival responses. This is really scary for this kid too. And it doesn't have to change us and how we show up. And so that's what I want to help you to work on. You are doing something that is very challenging. You're helping to build secure attachment, and you're going to do everything you can to do that. You're going to have predictable routines. You're going to have emotional attunement. You're going to work on consistency and regulating, and having good boundaries, so that they learn that there's boundaries, not just for them, but that you are able to do that. There's a lot of modeling in it. So if you have some attachment wounds, you're going to get your wounds healed too in this process. And lastly, I just want to remind you, like, don't take it personally. It's data. This is information. When these things come up, it's like, oh, I thought we were past that. And then I want to tie this back into, we have to keep it safe. Like, we have to keep your child safe. If they will go off with any stranger, then that tells you that they're not safe out there without some guidance, without people. I will tell you that I adopted my son when he was 13. And so I didn't have a lot of time, but he was with me pretty solid. I mean, he went to school, and we had struggles there with attachment issues, and getting things from other people, and especially people that were super sympathetic to his story. A lot of, what seemed like triangulation, right? But siding with these other people against the people that are trying to care for him. He wasn't alone for a long time. He needed several years of kind of having a body double and being there. And it was hard at first, but then you get used to it. And there's no substitution for that kind of togetherness that creates some healthier behaviors. He knew how to act in the store. He knew how to be, in my office. At that time, sometimes when there wasn't school, he had to be in the office with me, and I had things for him to work on. I found that I couldn't just leave him in the waiting room because he would talk up everybody that was in there. So we had a different place where he would have to, hang out. And it's all part of it. And it's really important because you are setting them up for the rest of their life as their brain starts to come back together, as they start to have experience with other relationships. There's going to be so much that you've taught that is really going to help. So if your child is struggling to attach or seems to love everybody but you, then I just want you to know you are not alone and there is help. Please go to parentingchallengingkids.com and either schedule an appointment with me to just talk about this for 30 minutes. If that's too much, look around, see if you want to join the Playroom and be supported with other parents that are learning how to build trust and safety that lasts. There's help for you. And that might be a message that you've forgotten in all of the struggles.